know you're all set to roll. And I know you're going to give a very warm welcome to this gal because she is the first great superstar at the Continental Baths. So what more can you say? Here she is, Bette Midler!
In New York, in 1973, one of the most prominent bathhouses was the Continental Baths. It was the creme de la creme for men seeking men, hosting a disco with bar, gym, steam room, pool, wet-dry sauna, private rooms, plus nooks and crannies for the sometimes not-so-discreet action. You could check in for an hour or stay for the weekend. The Continental wasn't run by the mob and was the idealistic personification of what a bathhouse could be. Grand and lush beyond its means, yet ever reaching for more than it actually was.
There is no one here beside me, and my problems have all gone. There is no one to deride me. But you got to have friends.
Hello, my name is John, and welcome to the one and only podcast of Putting on the Ritz. Men who went to the tubs, or baths as they were called, wandered the halls unashamed of their desires and needs to connect and feel. Also, a need to connect and feel with as many other men as some of them possibly could. It was a joyous environment. Men talked and engaged, they were entertained, and for some, relationships flourished. Now, any place that you could be that promiscuous in also had its issues. The clap around here is more like applause, so it's rumored that Bette Midler once said while getting her start as a bathhouse cabaret entertainer, back when they had entertainers. But men still danced underneath the reflective light of the disco ball, and they started stories with a hope of a happily ever after, or at the very least, a happy ending. This is just a damn fine time waiting to be captured and shared, through whatever medium possible. Articles, puff pieces on the evening news, maybe a film. With the Stonewall riots having happened just a few years prior, the allure of this new, open gay culture was strong for heterosexual folks. But, portrayed in the media, it should be toned down just a bit. I mean, we wouldn't want to lose the Midwest audience now, would we? But share our good times we did, along with Terrence McNally and his stunning play, The Ritz, making its debut under the title The Tubs, an inside joke for those of you who know the play. It opened at the Yale Repertory Theater in 1974. It is a fun romp through a playground of homosexuality. How could you go wrong? Amazing music, hot bodies, multiple mistaken identities, awkward situations, and more jocularity than you can shake a stick at. For me, it's a farce of epic proportions, but I'm easily amused. All McNally's grandness is presented to you in the safety of a dark, respectable theater, where you can clap all you like and not have to worry about needing penicillin when you're done. With such a specific snapshot of Americana, you'd think that the scenic and design direction in the script would be as rich as its source material. I'm now going to turn to page 5 in my script and share with you what is written. The time of the play is now. The place of the play is a men's bathhouse in New York City. If you're not a gay man who's been to a bathhouse since the late 80s, you might have missed the issue here. It's a very clear one to me, but I'm unashamedly promiscuous, and the baths are like a church to me. Lots of kneeling. Let's take a few moments and let those words sink in. From the script. The time of the play is now. There is so much optimism right there. To think that McNally might have actually have thought the party would go on forever. That there wasn't even an inkling that my community was hurtling towards a disaster that would forever change the landscape for gay men and ultimately deny us the interaction with many of our forefathers. With the rise of the gay plague, bathhouses were forced to close or drastically modify their operations. The new limitations in places like San Francisco proper were to ensure that they were safer sex venues only, causing many to close in lieu of kowtowing to even more government involvement in their business. Dwindling numbers in the population and the added stigma to the promiscuous and free-loving lifestyle took a major toll on the bathhouses as well. Jane Grow said in her 1985 article, "Bathhouse Reflect AIDS Concern." Attendance has declined at the 10 homosexual bathhouses in New York since the onset of the AIDS epidemic, according to the city's Department of Health. But some of the owners report that business remains profitable, despite the mounting public pressure that the baths be closed. You can already see, in the mid-'80s, bathhouses were cloistering themselves and happy to be on the fringe of the nightlife, but yet no longer its destination. Lack of pride in one's bath of choice made it even easier for the owners to let their establishments slowly dwindle into decrepit holes in the wall, far from the palaces they once were. Bathhouses were becoming dirty little secrets in their own communities, and internally they were reflecting it. Mark King from My Fabulous Disease shared this story in a blog post he called My Very Last Night in a Gay Bathhouse, published April 26, 2010. "I made a grim discovery while standing in the private room of another customer there, making small talk. While I had hopes of a more meaningful communication, my plans were cut short when I stepped forward and directly into an offending dung heap." Stories like that can be found all over the web, shaming the establishments and its patrons, some deserving, some not so. I rolled with it myself in the 90s, by naming the 2 rats who lived poolside at Flex in Atlanta, Chester and Hester. But it's what you did to enjoy what you wanted. The AIDS crisis is the largest factor for the change in McNally's play, and his "the time of the play is now." Should this show be done as a period piece, or should one try to do it as now? What does now look like? How would that work? I ask myself these questions, and as I do, I yearn to see the characters from the Ritz in their chase for unrequited love, need for sanctuary, yearning to be a star, or those who simply just wanted to get laid. Will they ever get laid? Who knows? Maybe if they can figure out who's who first. The play is dated. There are no two ways around it. There's a myriad of cultural references that barely stand the test of time, unless you're in the know. So in my opinion on the now, would always have to be set in the glorious 70s, where we would all truly survive. And yes, the party would go on forever. For the benefit of the doubt, what would the Ritz look like if it were done as a contemporary work? What does a bathhouse even look like today? How does it function in our modern gay world? Well, I have some answers for you. And as for other answers, it's hard to say. The establishments are still trying to define that for themselves. But for you, yes you, I threw myself into the thick and sometimes long of it to do a bit of investigative reporting, just like Geraldo Rivera. But this would sound so much more harrowing if the local bathhouse didn't know me by name, description, and room preference. I wonder if Geraldo ever had that problem.
This is CUFF Breaking News with our reporter, John, who is currently checking into a bathhouse. John?
How are you, Greg? Oh, I think I might be up for a renewal. You're going to need that. You're going to need that.
Yeah. So we have the 1 month for $5 or the 6 month for $15.
Oh, we'll do the full 6 month.
Okay. It will be good through August 12th.
Okay.
And did you want to get a room or a locker?
Actually, can I get a room and put my doghouse towards it? The doghouse locker?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Okay. so it'll be 24.
Okay. And there you go, monsieur.
Okay, and you're aware the steam room is down?
No, I didn't know, but I'm good with that. Oh, big old note there. That's not really what I come for anyway. As long as the shower works, I'm good. I always need a shower. Wait, that sounds bad.
Well, if you've had fun, then you probably will.
There you go, sir.
Okay. Anything for the locked off?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Room 109, and checkout is 208.
All right, thank you so much.
Okay, have a good time.
Let's use our local Steamworks as a foundation for this exploration. Steamworks is a chain bathhouse with locations in Chicago, Toronto, Berkeley, Vancouver, and here in sweet, innocent little Seattle. Before you ask, yes, they have a student discount. Just saying. Now, I know the Emerald City is not the Big Apple, but take it from a fellow who's been dressed in the ceremonial garb of a towel and not much else, from Ontario to California and many points in between, bathhouses really aren't that much different from each other. Today's bathhouse isn't like the mirthful images painted for us in the pages of the Ritz, or even in its film adaptation. Today's bathhouse feels more like a sexual monastery, with monks who have all taken a vow of silence and self-indulgence. At Steamworks, it's 50% maze, 25% lounge, 25% steam room, if it's working, and 100% sexual hunting ground. It's not bright and open, it's dark and warm. Your ears are treated to the muffled rhythmic beats that, if matched by any heterosexual couple, could prevent a Catholic conception. But let's face it, no one is conceiving here. The bathhouse now plays up the darker and grittier side of the man-on-man sexual environment. Gone are the feelings of being in a classic Turkish bath or a Jack LaLanne's, a men's spa of the 70s. Now it's replaced with being unapologetically masculine, with a combination of being in a fantasy garage/jungle gym, all mixed into subdued, stimulating mood lighting that works wonders for even the homeliest of men. The modern bathhouse has become the last bastion of the gay male-only environment. With acceptance and equality comes loss or change, depending on how you look at it. Gone are the gay and leather bars with their veiled rules designed to keep out the unwanted. These days, the local gay bar scene does not discriminate against the color green. And, with an ever-diluting clientele, they need as much of that green as they can get. Now let's welcome back the hordes of heterosexuals out to slum it for an evening amongst the bohemian set. Then there are the ones who give straight women in gay bars a bad name. They're usually single and they're always angling for center stage, said Helgar in the Huffington article, 5 Simple Rules for Straight Women in Gay Bars. But women are no longer welcomed in the walls of the modern bathhouse, no matter how entertaining they may be. The gay male wagons have been circled and circling even as far back as 1975, when the Continental baths closed, due to a lack of man-on-man action and an increase of heterosexual foot traffic to its cabaret. With all these changes in what a bathhouse is, how would our fictional Ritz fare in this day and age? Talent, variety shows, and lounge acts with live music like Bette Midler and Barry Manilow are now replaced with DJs and porn stars making guest appearances. But if you long for the live entertainment, you're in luck. They're doing intercourse gymnastics for the closed-circuit in-house television and live streaming it on the World Wide Web. In effect, still welcoming in the outside world, just not past its physical doors. The over-the-top characters in the pages of the Ritz, who add to the amusement park environment of the play as attendees and also aging attractions, would be gone. Those key patrons whose behaviors I have come to cherish in the script have been quickly neutered. The over-the-topedness doesn't fare well for the sexually cruisy environment.
Yeah, I'm among the last of a dying breed. Well, once the ERA and gay civil rights bills have been passed, me and mine will find ourselves swept under the carpets, like the blacks done to Amos, Andy, and Aunt Jemima. But that's all right. Hey, with a voice and a face like this, I got nothing to worry about. I can always drive a cab.
That was Arnold Beckoff, a drag queen from another little play, now movie, called Torch Song Trilogy, played and written by Harvey Fierstein. He speaks volumes to the now, and not just about how patrons in bathhouses wants a safe haven to be who you are, even if who you are is a stereotype, have changed along with the environment. Now men frown on joviality and effeminacy in their sexual amusement park. Judgments are cast quickly and many times without even a word having been spoken. Here's a little excerpt from the 1976 film The Ritz, where Claude has to use words.
Excuse me, I'm resting. May I come in?
No, I said I'm resting.
Well, I'm looking for someone.
But I told you I'm resting.
Well, that's okay. I just wanted to ask you...
Hey! What do you need? A brick wall to fall on your head? Resting. It's a euphemism for not interested, skinny.
But in truth, it's always been like that. We judge our own community harsher than others can judge us. Ever hear someone say, I'm straight skinny but gay fat? Let's revisit some of the amenities we talked about earlier. More than a 24-hour stay? Gone. It's not a hotel. In and out privileges for smokers? Want to go out for a drink and come back? Limited or also gone. Due to liquor laws, health regulations, and the FDA, lots of stuff is just simply gone. It's too much of a pain in the ass for what it's worth, and has even more governmental people poking around your establishment. Not that there's anything to hide from the government, no. They have always understood alternative sexual lifestyles, practices, and people being different than themselves. So far, in our modern look at the bathhouse, we have minimalized its interior and amenities, gotten rid of or neutered our patrons, and done away with the live entertainment, female or even female illusionist. The show as a contemporary work at this point has no leg to stand on, not without a major rewrite. And then, would it even be the same show? And would it be a show you would want to see? These are exciting new questions. McNally is alive, and we could ask him, but that's not what this podcast has been about, has it? No, it's about, should the play, as originally written, be set in the now, or should it forever live its life in the heyday of the 70s? For me, this is the fun part. Well, aside from getting to go to Steamworks, that is. Almost a page plus of nothing but my own unadulterated opinion. I know this whole podcast has been tainted with my opinion from moment one, but it's my podcast. And to be fair, I did provide a good overview of the way things were as compared to the way things are. But now I get to tell you why I think and have always thought that this powerhouse of a comical play should live in the romanticized sexual awakening of the 70s. There is a sociological growth in the 70s that can't be replicated today. It's a time when the world is coming together and people are learning that there is so much more outside their door than the Ozzie and Harriet lifestyle. You didn't have to follow a well-trodden path laid out for you by your parents, the government, or even society. And as I type this, I can only think of Marty in the 2012 film The Cabin in the Woods and his take on today's world as the cast slowly realizes that their camping trip is taking them far off the grid.
That's the whole point. Get off the grid, right? No cell phone reception, no traffic cameras. Go someplace for one goddamn weekend when it can't globally position my ass. This is the whole issue.
Is society crumbling, Marty?
No, society is binding, right? It's filling in the cracks with concrete. Everything's filed or recorded or blogged, right? Chips in our kids' heads so they won't get lost. Society needs to crumble. We're all just too chicken shit to let it.
The 70s was a time before we got to the point of oversaturation of information, and there was really so much more to discover. I worry that as we go and revisit that time, we might just be too jaded to enjoy the Ritz with fresh eyes. These days, it takes 2 seconds to do a web search, and you know what the interior of a bathhouse looks like. Hell, these days we can globally position our next sexual engagement through apps like Grindr, Scruff, and Tinder. As a theater goer and somebody who works in the theatrical community, I want to forever go back to that time of discovery and struggle. This funny little dated play does that for me. I want to share this piece of Americana as a living, breathing Polaroid. I don't want to lose what made it special by doing the show as a now. I'm also happy to say I'm not alone in this opinion. Just scour the web for mounted productions of the Ritz and you'll see time and time again that the show is set in the 70s, or some odd idea of what the 70s kind of looked like, some strange community theater budgeted idea of what the show looks like set in the 70s. It's also worth noting that 2 large-scale, professionally mounted revivals in New York seem to have taken the retro cue. One in 1983 at the old Henry Miller Theater, then billed as Xenon. Don't judge, it was a strange time for the old Miller in those days. With Andy Warhol-made star Holly Woodlawn playing Googie Gomez, it was not well received. Being stated by Mel Gusso in his review of the show, the Ritz should have been given a longer rest. Then remounted again in 2007. This time with Rosie Perez grabbing the role of Googie and making her part one of the show's standout successes. But again, the show was done as if in the scintillating 70s, just with a set that looked a bit like a French bordello. I guess if you're going to have a vision, there could have been worse places to have set it. Like, I don't know, any bathhouse today, for instance? That concludes our ever-sprawling journey into the deeper question of contemporary versus period piece when it comes to the play The Ritz. I hope you've enjoyed your time with me today, as I have with myself. Please join me next time when we travel further down the rabbit glory hole to discuss Gerald Walker's book, now a cult film legend from the 1980s starring one Al Pacino, Cruising.
How big are you?
Party size.
What are you into?
I go anywhere.
I don't do anything.
That's cool. Hips or lips.
We'll be investigating if its content could be done justice as a stage play and a little podcast I call Going Undercover on Stage, or Who's Here? I'm Here. We're Here. Thank you for listening.
Special thanks for this podcast goes to Stephanie Costas, Dr. Cori Adler, Melissa Logan, the Cornish College of the Arts Writing Center with Michelle Domanowski, Terrence McNally, Bette Midler, Harvey Firestein, William Friedkin, the fine folks at freesound.org and audionautics.com, Mutiny for their song Lump, and for listeners like you.